Sunday TTR and a couple of stuff that we would like to take a note of next week. The French elections are actually taking place this weekend. All right, couple of news that's coming right out. So if you Google French election, you kind of know what are the couple of talks that's coming out for the French election. Now, I don't really read too much into the news. A lot of it is just pretty much noise. What I would like to do is take a look at the charts. Currently, there's a lot of uncertainty in the French elections, giving the euro a little bit of a softness in the market. So I'm on a weekly time frame right now just to kind of see where all the euro pairs are at. You can see a lot of the euro has a lot of downward pressure to the downside. So we have euro Aussie here, euro CAD here, very sideways, a little bit towards the downside in terms of pressure. And I think a lot of softness of the euro has already been kind of priced in. Euro Swiss as well, euro pound had actually a gap as well. I think euro yen is the only exception due to the weaker yen, so we can kind of ignore all the yen pairs at this point, and I'll come back to the yen in a little bit. Euro kiwi and of course the euro dollar. All right, so what I'm expecting for next week is that depends on what happens over this weekend. I do think there might be a little bit of a gap in the euro. Not too sure whether it's upside or downside, but depending on who comes out top in this election weekend, we could see euro taking a big jump next week, and then we will want to write that mark over that. So I'm not going to call it direction. The euro statistics, if you kind of look at the Trading Economics website, is doing pretty okay in the sense that it's pretty stable for now. GDP growth has been flattened out at a 0.3, the latest reading that's come out. We also have interest rate at 4.25, no change there. Inflation 2.6 and jobless 6.4, taken with a bit pinch of salt because of its it's a euro area and not it relies on the statistics paid from Germany, France, and Italy as well. What I would like to note is there have been talks about the euro planning to reduce interest rates, and this will also add on to the sentiment of the election. So if we have both of them together, where the negative sentiment is out for the election, together with potential interest rates drops in interest rate cuts in the euro, then I think the downward pressure on the euro is pretty much in the back. All right. Next week, however, if you look at the Forex Factory calendar, it's going to be a short week of trading. July 4th is a US holiday over here. We also have the first week of the first Friday of the month coming up. Thus, we have the non-farm payrolls, the unemployment change. So there might be a little bit of volatility more towards the sideways next week as traders take a little bit of caution in the first half of the year. All right, so this is the end of Q2. A lot of traders might be adjusting their portfolios according to their P&L. So they might be profit takings that's going to come up before the unemployment and non-farm numbers come in. So might be a little bit more volatility in the market. So do be a bit more careful. Now, in terms of strongest versus weakest in what I like to look at, I still prefer a slightly more robust Swiss. However, the Swiss currencies has been on an upward trajectory for quite a while. Now, if we look at dollar Swiss, just to take a little bit of a reference, over here, this is the dollar Swiss. You can see dollar Swiss on a weekly time frame. Dollar has a bit of a downward pressure, a bit of retracement over here, and there is a little bit more room to go towards the downside. Now, I don't really want to be bearish on the dollar. I'm just using the dollar Swiss as a indicator of how healthy the Swiss is. Or a lot of the other currency pairs, for example, another currency pair that I would like to keep an eye on is the Euro Swiss as well, given the election. And if price can dip below the 0.96 mark over here, again, I'm on a weekly time frame, we might see another push towards the lower low on the 0.94 area. All right. But bearing in mind, Euro Swiss has been trading at an all-time low as well. So a lot of the Swiss pairs are very overextended in one direction, but being a little bit more of a stable currency pair, if you look at the Swiss statistics over here, we have a bit of flat GDP, interest rates are really, really low, inflation really, really low, and unemployment has bumped up a little bit since last year, but it's pretty much flat as well. So it is not super, super attractive because of its low interest rates, but what is attractive for the Swiss is because of its stability. All right. So not too aggressive in being bullish on the Swiss, but comparatively to the other weaker currency pairs, it still has a little bit of room to go. So currency pairs I'm keeping an eye out for the next 1 or 2 weeks will be currencies like Euro Swiss. The Euro, of course, dependent on how the election turns out. Currencies like Kiwi Swiss is still something I'm keen to look at. The Kiwi has dropped below the 0.55 bar. I'm looking for that retest. If we look at the daily time frame, I would like to look to see whether I get a clear retest over here before a downside. So it has kind of flattened out the last 5 days. You can see there's not much movement in the Kiwi. All right, the candles literally has gone nowhere. So I'm expecting a breakout in the next 1 or 2 weeks. It depends on whether it's going to break to the upside for a deeper retest or hit back down towards the downside. All right, I do prefer a short Kiwi Swiss, but again, be very patient for those setups. I'm going to trade when those setups come about. Now, a bit of seasonal data coming in. The Kiwi data for the month of July is a bit more to the upside, so again, as much as I would like to short Kiwi Swiss, I am a bit cautious, to kind of rush into it at this point. Maybe in August might be a better time to make sure that we get the seasonality on our favor as well. If you look at the Swiss, however, you can see between July, August is a bit flat, but still on an upward trajectory. So it means that the Swiss still has potential for a slightly upward bump or at least a flattened sideways area. All right. So while I do prefer a bullish Swiss pair, it's about understanding the timing of when to actually, jump into those trades. And I do want those retracement levels to be hit before we jump straight into it. Again, we can look at pound Swiss. You can see that price has that lower low, lower high on a daily time frame. Looks like it is again bouncing off a break and retest level over here, which means if price comes towards the downside next week, then we can try to take it to the next level over here. Now, again, on the seasonality side, let's take a look where the pound is. And if you look at where pound is, July to August, again, is another bullish potential month. So I'm not super convinced to be short on the pound Swiss. I think it might, there's higher possibility of a flatter pound Swiss in the month of July, but we never know. The downward push, the seasonality downward push could come in a little bit earlier, given the markets are pretty dynamic, and the seasonality doesn't dictate the currency pairs and where it's going to go. So I am still looking for potential shorts in that. The only thing is we need to be really patient to make sure we get those entries and setups. Now, last thing I'll talk about is the dollar yen. The dollar yen has been going up for ages and ages, and before we go there, I'd like to look at the Japanese yen. Now, the Japanese yen is a very interesting time of the month. We are entering July, very flat month for the seasonality in terms of Japanese yen, and then from August onwards, it starts to push really up towards the upside. So speaking of which, when will the Japanese government intervene? Now, if we look at the Japanese statistics, all right, GDP growth is a negative, interest rate flat, inflation rate very controlled, jobless rate, and this is the part that I am kind of looking at, is also very flat. Now, tourism is an all-time high since since the last couple of months, given the very low, the very weak Japanese exchange rate. So again, I don't think Japanese intervention might come when we expect it. I think when the Bank of Japan intervenes, it's going to be at a point where nobody expects it. That is probably one of the ways they can make the most out of the intervention. And if we look at where the dollar yen is on the charts, again, it's pretty much sideways. I am, of course, prepared for shorts, but the problem being prepared for shorts is that we might have to wait for a couple of months even. All right, so I don't know when they're going to intervene. At this point, it's still pushing towards the upside. And the question really is, how much higher do we want to go? Now, I think 165 is a very far off mark, but not it's not impossible, I would say, but once I think it touches 165, it's probably going to U-turn really fast. So the question is, when will this upward trajectory stop? So the next couple of weeks will be really interesting, because if you do get signals for a bullish dollar yen move, until we hear more from the Bank of Japan, I would say just focus on the technical signals. It will be a lot safer than fundamentals, and of course, keep that risk management tight. All right. So all right, that's all I have for this week. And again, once again, next week is going to be a week of caution. Short trading week because of the holiday on Thursday, the 4th of July, so the bank holiday over there, and also a lot of data coming out. So do trade with caution. I would like to see what happens with the French election over the weekend, to see whether we can get potential shorts in the euro of the election. Plus, if ECB President Lagarde gives us any indication of whether or not there'll be interest rate cuts, I think a possibility of short euro pairs might come in. And if the short euro pairs do play out, then I would, of course, like to look at euro Swiss, even over the next couple of periods of time. You can see euro Swiss has really pushed up towards the upside. So it's either it gets a further retracement. Let's see if I look all the way over here. It's already above. Maybe a further retracement towards a 0.97 area before we see a U-turn towards the downside. All right. So Euro Swiss is a currency pair I would like to see whether it plays out, but a safer bet might be the Euro dollar. It's trading in this block right now. All right, and very little space towards the downside. Again, a bit more uncertainty on the euro, really pending. Maybe we have to see how the charts respond on Monday before we can actually figure out a direction in the euro. All right, because if interest rates are going to be further cut in the euro, then of course I think further downside might come in. But the euro has been soft for a little while already, so it might have already been priced in. All right, so that's all for me this week. Thank you guys and trade safe. Cheers, everyone. Bye bye.